Hey everybody. Let me see. What's going on? Hey everyone. We are talking about creating opportunities and three things you can do right now to kind of jump start getting those opportunities in 2025. These are three things I'm doing. So I am just sharing my process with you, and maybe it will inspire you to consider some things you haven't considered before. What's going on? So come on in. I'm sharing three strategies that I want you to think about in terms of creating opportunities for yourself in 2025. These are three things that I know I am going to be doing. One is one that is not on my list, but just showing up more here on live, but I'm also live on YT as well. I don't want to say it because I don't want Instagram to do something to my views. But growing my YT is on the list. But listen, I'm gonna share three tips with you because sometimes we can feel like we don't know what our next move is going to be. We know that we have so much talent and so many gifts, and we're trying to figure out, how do I let the world know? How do I create more opportunities for myself? We have slow months and weeks, and we have months and weeks where everything is going great. So, here are three strategies that you can think about that I'm doing. And, at the end, we'll talk about my webinar as well. But at any point, you can comment web and I'll send you the free webinar, which is a little more long form than this. If you have questions, just put them in the question section. I'll be able to see them better, and I'll definitely circle back and answer questions at the end. But the first thing is, stop waiting for permission and take action. So I just talked to somebody today. I've talked to at least three people in the last couple of weeks. Particularly, these people were talking to me about promoting their book. And I don't know why people's brain thinks like this, but they're like, oh, the book doesn't come out for 2 months. So I shouldn't start marketing until like a month and a half from now, right? And it's like, no, that's too late. Do you know how long it takes to build an audience, to build trust, and to build credibility? Stop waiting. Take action right now. Whatever that thing is for you, you also don't have to wait for permission. A lot of us have to start trusting ourselves. A lot of times we know the answer, but we want somebody else to validate it or confirm it. And it is okay if you want to ask your coach or a trusted advisor, but a lot of times we know what we have to do. We just got to do it. And it's okay if it doesn't work. It's okay if you fail. Even with content, sometimes you got to go outside of the box a little bit, get a little bit creative, post something that makes you a little bit nervous that might not be the typical thing you would post. Create that new offer that you've been thinking about that makes you excited. Stop waiting for permission, put it out there. The good thing about being a creative and trying to build your audience and turn your passion into profit is that a lot of times you get feedback right away, right? So, like, even the title of this live, looking at how many people came in and how many people were asking me questions, and the way that I've formatted this one versus another one is giving me feedback, right? So if I hadn't have shown up for myself and for you today, I wouldn't even be getting this feedback that I'm getting right now. So everything is feedback. Even silence is feedback, but you can't get that feedback if you don't take action, right? So, my first thing that I want to share with you is to stop waiting and take action, right? Take inspired action today on the things that you've been holding close to your chest, or you should be doing but you haven't done yet. And things start to move and shake. Things start to happen, right? When you take action. The second thing is, don't forget to tell stories that resonate. So for everybody in here, if you're a solopreneur, you're a creative entrepreneur, for a lot of my artists like me, for the art is the thing that you want people to buy. It's not like a how-to book or some business course, right? And so the art is the value that you are selling to people. And the best way to sell anything is to tell stories. I'll give you an example. I posted a thread today, which is something, it's just a story, but I turned it into like a screenplay script. And it's like 200 words or less. And the thread is doing really well. But something happened to me today in the co working space. And I was like, man, this would be a really good story if I put it in a different context. So I'll tell you the story real quick because this will give you a great idea around how things that happen to you every day are stories that you can share, that you can start building a relationship with the audience and start creating relatable content. So I'm at a co-working space and there are large tables out there. So it's like tables that can sit 3 seats on each side. And a lot of times it'll be one person sitting at those tables. Like they'll have their stuff spread out because it's more space than sitting in here in this small telephone booth, right? But there's tons of tables out there. There's like 7 tables, and then there's other just it's like 20 tables out there, right? So this morning I grabbed my table and my stuff is all spread out over this table, y'all. And it's 4 other tables in front of me. And there's one person sitting at each table. But there's like no lie, at least there's like 20 tables in the whole space, and it was at least like 4 or 5 empty. This is crazy. So I'm sitting there all engaged in my work, and I'm sitting at the end of the space. And the guy walks all the way past the empty tables, all the way past the tables where other people are sitting, comes all the way to the end where I'm sitting, and he's like, "Do you mind if I sit here?" And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I don't want to be rude, but also it doesn't make sense. Make it make sense because you just walked by all of these empty tables. Then I'm like, why didn't you ask one of the other guys that are sitting in the tables before me? Because he had to walk past 4 other tables. So all this is going through my head, right? And I'm like, so he's like, do you mind if I sit here? And I say, kind of, like that. Like, kind of, like, what the heck? Kind So I was like, kind of. And then he seemed shocked. So he's like, oh. And he like gets himself together and then he like walks away and he's sitting somewhere else. Right. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all something. So I shared this on Threads in like a screenplay type script, and it was like 200 words or less, and it's doing well over there. But I put it in a different context. I'll tell you about that in a second. So when he walked away, so I'm like an empath, y'all. So I felt bad. I just this is how I am. Like I felt bad, but I also wanted my peace and calm and quiet. Like what? There's other empty. It's like there's other empty seats. Like why are you coming over here? So I turned this story though into me sitting on a bus. And this is how I wrote the story on Thread. So same situation. Like y'all should go after this. Y'all should go to my last Threads post. Don't leave the live to go see it, but after this, you should go check it out. And then but in that story, right, I made it about setting boundaries, being okay with setting boundaries, and just how you feel after you set a boundary. You still kind of feel bad because I still kind of felt like I could have said yes, but no, like. And then I'm like, was he like trying to hit on me? A lot of things went through my head. So anyway, I share that to say every day things are happening to you in which you can turn that into a story to share that with your audience in a way that connects back to the things that you're selling or the purpose of your page or the themes of your book or your music or whatever it is. And once you have frameworks, that's why I always, right, Megan? Right? Like, but like, what? So, wait, one other story. Listen, I'm getting a little bit off track, but one other story, because this guy did hit on me in the co working space, and I actually thought it was kind of brilliant. So, I'm in the co working space. This is getting way off topic, but we're talking about storytelling, stories that resonate. This happened like this was like a year ago in a different co-working space. Same company, different co-working space. So I'm sitting at my table all engaged in my work. And this guy walks by and he's like, "Hey," and I gotta show y'all what it looked like because y'all need the visuals. So he's like, this guy, and I didn't see what the guy looked like because my head was down. I was not paying attention to what was happening in the co-working space. He's like, "Hey, you dropped this on the floor next to you," and he's like, "I didn't know if it was important or not," and he leaves it at my desk. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, thank you." And then I went back to my work. But then when I was finished my work, I'm like, I look at the paper. So I finally pay attention to the paper. It's probably like an hour later. And I look at it. Some of you are laughing. I look at it and I'm like, it's the guy's name and number. And I look at it and I'm like, what? I'm like, this is not mine. And then I'm like, oh, did he write his name? Like, I was so confused. I'm like, did he write his name and number? Like, I was confused. So I did end up texting him. And I was like, because I was really I know this is funny because I was really confused. So I did end up texting him and I was like, hey, did you really think that I dropped that paper or were you like hitting on me? So anyway, that was the story. But tell stories that resonate is the point, okay? And so I take stories that happen to me that I've learned lessons from because my page is all about self-help for creatives. I want to keep creatives motivated and inspired. And, I learn lessons like every day. And I think about those stories. That's why I always share my storytelling frameworks, how to tell a good short story. Here are the 6 steps, right? This is why I share all of this stuff a lot with the people in my Patreon community. I can't stop there. No, we're not dating. So that's like the end of the story, really. Oh, like we had some text message conversations back and forth, but I didn't even remember what he looked like because I didn't really see him because I was doing my work. But I actually thought that was a really good pickup thing because it worked. It did get me because I was just like so curious. Um, so you guys are gonna be so off track. This is hilarious. So, yeah. Anyway, share stories that resonate. Follow me, jump into my Patreon community. Send me a DM if you want help with that. Like I have frameworks that make it very simple and easy for you to turn your stories into things that resonate with the audience. The third tip is build community. And I took notes for y'all on this one, y'all. The third tip is build community, not just an audience. Right? Community, people that are engaging with you back and forth, people that really like you, right? And people that you really like. The beautiful thing about a community is you like the people in your community and the people in your community like you. And that's a beautiful thing because as a creative, as an artist, sometimes our ideas, we feel a little weird and crazy. And if you can be in a space with other people that can feel weird and crazy with you, that's beautiful. And it's just such a roller coaster ride as a solopreneur, a creative entrepreneur, an artist that from month to month, you don't know what your income is going to be. Sometimes you have, if you do client work, sometimes you have client work, sometimes you have sales, sometimes you don't. But if you have a community, a paid community, that's a great way to create a creative empire, but it feels really good to give back to a core group of people who are rocking out with you and you're rocking out with them. And it is a big commitment, but it's really, really, really worth it. It takes a lot of time. But to me, building a community is the way forward because people will never get tired of being with their people. Like being in community will never get old, especially in this day and age where high rates of loneliness, people want to feel understood, and you can find and connect with the community, and you can be the person to create that community. So this leads me to me reminding you about my free webinar. In my free webinar, I am sharing the Grow to Scale system where I'm giving steps to grow your first 100 paid members. Comment web, I'll DM you a link directly to jump into my free webinar. If you vibe with me in this live, you're gonna vibe with me in the webinar, and you can ask me questions there in the webinar too. But it's all about strategies, specific strategies that work to help you grow your community to your first 100 members. Once you get to 100, I'm confident that you'll be able to scale that 200, 300, 400, and beyond. So comment web, I'll DM you that direct link. If you guys have any questions, tell me what your biggest challenge is. We can talk through them. If not, then catch me in the webinar. There's one coming up in 10 minutes, and then there's one that you can register for in the future. Either way, if you can't make it, if you register, you'll get the replay. So, what challenges are you having right now, y'all, in turning your passion into profit and growing? Any questions I can answer for you on here, I'm so happy to do so. If you just want to jump into the webinar to see what it's about and to get additional insight, comment web, I'll send you the link. You don't have to like create an account or anything. It's just your email address, and you'll be able to jump right in. You guys are so hilarious though. Um, I'm just scrolling through to see if any questions came up that I can help you with. Okay, a lot of you are commenting web, so I'll definitely see you over there in the webinar. Okay, I don't see. I'm scrolling back far. I don't see any questions, y'all. So I'll see y'all in the webinar, and I will save this. So if you're watching the replay of this on Instagram, you can actually comment web, and I'll still be able to um Maurice D. Wall. See, like you have to become one of my stories. Um yes, it's evergreen. If you're asking me about the webinar, yes, it's evergreen. But if you're in the webinar and you use the chat and ask questions, I will respond to you via email. Tips gaining a better following. Tips to getting a better following. Man, it's so lot. So it's so lot. It is so much. So I could give you like some quick tips here, but really, if you want to grow your following, find a person on the app that you want to grow on. If you like what they're doing, they most likely have a way for you to jump on coaching or into their program. And at this point, I will truly say, I think the best way to grow your socials is to just learn from someone who has done it. Like me sharing a couple tips and tricks in here, it'll help you if you do it, but you're not gonna do it. So and it's so much to growing your socials. I would just really, the beautiful thing about the time that we're living in. So this is the tip to gaining a better following. The beautiful thing about the time that we're living in is that people are willing to share information, and yes, you have to pay for it, but it's worth it. So if there's somebody that you follow that you like what they're doing on socials, just hire them as a coach and learn it the quick way and do what they say. That would be my number one tip right now in this time period. If this was like a year or two ago, I probably would be giving you different advice, but learn from the people that are doing it, yo. It's a lot of nuance to these apps. It's getting very, very difficult. There's a lot of new features. There's a lot of new changes. And yeah, that's what I would say. And that's what I did. I learned from taking courses with people who I liked what the way that they were growing their pages. All right. Any other questions? What what's your biggest challenge? Type it in the comments, and I'll see if I can give you some quick insight. You are very welcome. Happy to help. Okay, y'all. I don't see any questions coming through. Thank you so much. I hope this was helpful. These are the things I'm doing and leaning into. I don't know how it's going to go on the other platform, but I am doing this live on both platforms. So we'll see. All right, y'all. If you don't follow me, click the arrow up here. Make sure you give me a follow. If you learned something in here, I hope this was valuable to you. And keep up the good fight, y'all. All right. Peace.